By Allah, soothsayer, you might have been the fourth in that shop and perceived it all with your own eyes. Chapter 16 of The Adventures of Khoja Nasreddin. The low vaults of the tower were illuminated by 4 torches set in iron brackets along the walls. Chardana, Shola, Auzoya, the Manemzu Bandikhana, Manemzu Tower Kiwasa. The torches burned dimly, Sholeshkama or smokily, and in their pale, lurid light, Khoja Nasreddin beheld a rack standing in the corner. And beneath it a wide trough in which thongs lay soaking. Set out on a bench in neat order were a thumbscrew, pincers, awls, needles for driving under the fingernails. Suzanai ki matlab in de bere torture ki bane zidrur nahi na ta nama hai sunna hai. Pincers, awls, needles for driving under the fingernails, iron heating gauntlets. Mistri. Post mostra tarbide. Wooden screw boots, ear, tooth and nose drills. The gosht sulakh mana beneath drill mana. Various pulling weights, bamboo belly filling water pipes with brass funnels and numerous other implements employed in the interrogation of malefactors. All this stock in trade was in charge of 2 executioners, both of whom were deaf mutes. Dudana Jallat ki khudan jam karulala family ej namishnawa ki kirma gakshburum dara. A circumstance ensuring that the secrets here wrung from the lips of evildoers would not be spread abroad. The chief executioner, Mujalladi Kalan, a pallid elderly man with thin lips, a flat, dreary nose and lackluster, sweetly languorous eyes in deep sockets, was preparing the rack while his assistant, a hunchbacked dwarf, with long dangling arms, was examining the lashes. His weight, each thong in his hand, then wiped it with a cloth. The while he ceaselessly worked the bellows of the torture forge with his foot. On a wide couch, against the wall, facing the door, the grandee sat enthroned with a hookah in his teeth. On a small table before him lay the scrolls of papers. And Khoja Nasreddin's bag with his soothsaying paraphernalia at the grandee's feet sat a scribe. The and at his side, with a grim smile on his ferocious visage, stood the fat one, to whom every interrogation in that tower was a festive event. Was born in the Let us be truthful, and admit that a prickly chill crawled up Khoja Nasreddin's spine. Oh my precious Guljan, oh my little ones, will I ever be fated to see you again? He thought. Obeying the glance of the fat one, the chief executioner, Jalladi Quetta, stripped Khoja Nasreddin of his shirt, and stroked his bare back lightly and lovingly with his soft, boneless hand. The dwarf who Bonediga chose a lash and posted himself behind him. The grandee took his time before opening the proceedings, studying and turning over the papers, marking them with his fingernails, smiling ominously to himself and muttering. At last, he turned upon Khoja Nasreddin his penetrating, all-seeing eye and said, "You know yourself the cause of your having been seized by me, and thrown into prison. I know everything about you. I have long been hunting you. Now tell me yourself about your evil deeds and disclose your true name." This was not the first interrogation in the life of Khoja Nasreddin. He kept silent. He kept silent, trying to gain time. Have you lost the use of your tongue? The grandee said with narrowed eye. Or have you forgotten? I shall have to refresh your memory. The fat one thrust out his chin and stared fixedly at Khoja Nasreddin with unblinking eyes. The hunchbacked executioner stepped back a pace and raised his lash. Tamam ready for the punishment. Khoja Nasreddin neither flinched nor blenched, but he was perplexed in his mind. Feeling as if he had been plunged into a black chasm of uncertainty. The one thing he had feared was that he had been identified. What if the papers contained his real name? If they did, then he was lost. But how could they have identified him? Could it have been the one-eyed after all? Had he sold the horses, and together with them, his protector? Was this but another of those ultimate sins preceding his entry upon the path of virtue? This is what any ordinary man in place of Khoja Nasreddin would have decided. And thus would have assuredly betrayed his troubled mind and dismay either by a fear-shadowed glance or by a misplaced hysterical laugh, and of course would have been sent to the scaffold, ruined by his own weakness and mistrust. But Khoja Nasreddin was not that kind of man. Even here, in the hands of the executioner, the Disti Jallad, he remained true to himself and found the strength to say, found the strength to say to himself inwardly and repeat with the firmness of spirit, It was this power of trust, etibar, that saved him and enabled him to preserve full clarity of voice when he answered the grandee in the following words. Bilkul mutmain, bighair kudam ghabrahat, saaf sutara guft. There was no deception in my soothsaying, O illustrious Lord. Ma damne taviz, kari taviz ko bilkul faradi nahi. This answer appeared simple and artless, but actually it was a hidden snare. It happens sometimes in life that the hare sets a trap for the wolf. कभी ऐसा होता है कि खरगोश गुर का शिकार करता है. Soothsaying forsooth, sneered the grandee. Your soothsaying proves but one thing. कारोबारी ताबीज़ की शुरू कर दी मतलब ये एक चीज़ खाली that you are as errant a rogue and a trickster as all the others of your fellow craftsmen. Praise be to Allah, the Most High. The grandee had given himself away. Iki gabi Chizara bur do taraf I damu taraf raft. Chorta zim do taraf raft tarafi taviz yaqsa khalasht. He thought the interrogated one to really be a soothsayer. Yani bawar ke ki waqai taviz de hai. Kallan amur bawar ke. Hence his real name did not figure in those papers. A pressing stone seemed to have rolled off Khoja Nasreddin's heart. Ek sangas bile dil pash de lada. Wo khair hai asal mein dizki qissa zat. Itabal bawar dara ke maan taviz mein. In this first crossing of swords, victory had gone to him. Dazi Shamsher Kiri awal ne shri burdat. My illustrious lord has himself seen the bridle, he said. Hastening to follow up his advantage, I make bold to assert that the horses were in the cave. Only a few minutes before the appearance of the horsemen, they stood there eating choice grain. As marzi khona daro chara makhort. Tamu waqt ki ona rasida amzuki rasida ona guma. This was a second trap set for Grandee. He walked straight into it. Then why were they not there? He asked, letting down all his defenses. Khoja Nasreddin rode him full tilt. Because the day before, in a brief conversation on the bridge of the beheaded, I had read in certain powerful eyes a desire that the said horses should not be in too great a hurry to return to the master. मैंने चमारा माँ की सुन गौर मकदम की powerful بود ما دزی فهمیدم کی دلچسته ای چما که می اسباب زنج گم شونه از تا رئیس مصر از بعد که ملاوش تا وتم را گم باشه خوبا. The grandee gave ground. He was taken aback. He began to cough. He shot an uneasy glance at the fat one and at the scribe. By a great effort, he recovered his inner position. His glance regained its former steady quality. In that glance could be read the thought, dangerous, and very much so. To the scaffold with him. Picking a paper out of the heap of the scrolls, the grandee unfolded and prepared himself to question Khoja Nasreddin concerning his kinship with the rebel Yarmat. A fatal question, fraught with inevitable disaster for the questioned. Khoja Nasreddin anticipated the grandee and in other eyes, and in other eyes in which burnt not the high flame of authority, powerful idea, but which were accustomed to the contemplation of gold. They this least of soothsayers did read certain misgivings respecting a lady of unsurpassing beauty. گفتی ما مطلب چندان تعویزگر میتون ماهرم نیم مگر دمزی کم علمی خواهم مقص فهمید که دمنیزی چه ما یک دنه انتهای حسین एक خانوم هسته دزو چه ما suspecting of marital infidelity و او شک مونه درباره ازی خاتو که ای مطلب infidel هسته یعنی بی‌وفایی میکنه دروی. Those suspicious beget jealousy و منه ازو شکوک کم حسدم گرده. Jealousy gave rise to vengeful design و در منه ازو چه ما باز فردر ما خواندم که منه ازو انتقام که جذبام هسته. And from that sprang danger that already hangs over the refulgent and mighty unbeknown to him. ای تعبیر کرد که ای دویمنه چه ما را ما خواندم ای در منه ازی انتروی معلوم شد. Here was a staggering blow و یه خوب خطرناک حمله بود. The grandee's breath was interrupted. نفس گرفت و یک دفعه زیاد چرف کی دوباره کی جب میزن. The scroll in his hand shook and began to roll up from the bottom of its own accord. هم تکیلا نمشه مولول هم تکیزی تیلا مشه گر واپس کی جمع نمشه مکاغذ. 3 lightning glances, one at the soothsayer, one at the fat one, and one at the scribe. Before all else, these witnesses had to be got rid of. With a swift movement, he slipped one of the papers into the wide sleeves of his garment. Then, screening himself behind a tone of imperious displeasure, he addressed the fat one. Where is the letter from the governor of Namangan? I see it not here. Albana jorna kira katibi dias pa saman begna. Chuno uno letter ko chibal ke tamani astin kare ke gujaya mugamu khadias chiz samangan. The fat one began to rummage hurriedly among the papers. The letter naturally was missing. You are forever mixing things up and forgetting, the grandee said irritably. Go find it. The fat one departed. After waiting a sufficient length of time, the grandee suddenly bethought himself and cried out in a tone of vexation. I've forgotten. Scribe! Oh, Muharir, Gabagosh, run and tell him to find me also the secret report of the mullah of the Shahi Mardan Mosque while he is at it. Aboromo chizra bugiki amo secret report the bare mullah Shahi Mardan ki buduram paida kada bairu. Ali reina ki imbora gumshuna kazu wa ek naam diga ki extra gum kana ek diya khara. The scribe too departed hence. They remained in the tower eye to eye. Kimanda? Grandi Nasreddin. The deaf mute did not count. Uki lalu kara jallad diga uru kar na girtu basha khaira. No guftame tana no gosh muna fahmi. What nonsense are you talking here, soothsayer? Chichi ela mugitu. The grandee said to Khoja Nasreddin in an imperious tone. Yesterday's hashish, I see, has not yet evaporated from your head. What is all this babble respecting a lady of surpassing beauty? Tu bkhalim diro chars mars kashde tawale muchish manda ha? Ye cheez bare azi Hassin khatun tu gab mizni hasad u jealousy u designs against one vested with authority ke nafar da qudrat asta khilaf zu sazish jariya and what not. Chi lela magitu. He pretended not to have heard and understood. Magitu bugi tu cheez mana nahi ki maid na fahmidum. Khoja Nasreddin forthwith defeated his cunning devices. I spoke about the merchant Rahim Bhai and about the beautiful Arzi Bibi, his wife, and about a third party whose name My excellent lord knows all too well. خدانشون بهتر مفهمین جناب. نامی سیم نبرا. There ensued a long-lasting silence. Victory was complete. Knockout was it? Khoja Nasreddin felt his own eyes grow bright and hot. The grandee was worsted, overthrown, crushed, and destroyed. He clung to his hookah with trembling lips. The dead hookah responded with a watery sizzle, but with not a wisp of smoke. Khoja Nasreddin rushed over to the torture forge. Plucked قرار رفت الطرف يمجي एक torture ना ممكن कि जिस मना जिस मिज़र गरम मना ना दो तरफ रफ्त plucked forth a coal या कोक बालक thrust it into the hookah and began to blow it up with unaffected zeal. أنا سايب كشكت
الغزير في شعره ورده
hastening to restore to the grandee his reasoning faculties. In order to close the matter in hand before the fat one returned. His zeal was rewarded. The grandee began to puff at his hookah and by little and little floated up from the drowning depth of his stupefaction. He had now but one alternative: to come to terms with the soothsayer. Deal with him, bhai. However, he did not surrender at once and still tried to laugh the matter off. Where heard you that gossip? You are fond of chattering, huh? With all kinds of old women on that bridge of yours, I see. I have an old woman with whom I often hold converse. What is her name? Her description? Quick! Where does she dwell? I would fain have speech with her too. My old soothsaying book. My old soothsaying book, that is who told me everything. And I read confirmation of it in the eyes of the merchant. Sabuchi was the chimi khodi tajir. And you would have me believe that you can fathom any secrets with the aid of your book? Fairy tales are for little children, huh? As my illustrious lord pleases, I can be silent if he so desires. But if tomorrow the rumors of it reaches the ears of the great Khan, for the merchant intends to seek protection for his connubial couch at the court. Blow after blow, each more deadly than the other. Verily, this was a black day for the grandee. The terrifying vision of the palace physician rose before him, and he shuddered as if at the first touch of the sharp, ruthless steel. Happily, the merchant had already drawn up his complaint. Happily, he had already presented it at the palace. Procrastination spelled ruin. Craft and artifices had to be cast aside. Ali chalu banar pasbil and the matter discussed in a frank, open manner. Well, soothsayer, I am fully convinced now of the veracity of your fortune-telling. Said the grandee, assuming an air of friendly candor. You can be useful to me. Do you hear? I shall let you out of prison. Give you a reward, and make you chief soothsayer. In place of the old dotard with the skull. Khoja Nasreddin had no thought of turning the old skull possessor out of his niche. But he had no choice. He thanked the grandee for his favor, bowing and promising unbounded loyalty. Hum aapke wafadar rahenge. Good, said the grandee. You have said truly. Loyalty is very important. You and I understand each other. You have, of course, perceived already that my order to have you seized and thrown into prison was but a blind, a stratagem. I understood at once when I saw you yesterday that you are a great master of your trade, surpassing all the others in skill. I need such men as you. Hence I invited you into the tower today. The fact of the matter is that I do not trust my assistants. That fat one. I believe he will soon have occasion to try to ear drill the belly-filling tube and the pulling weights upon himself. It was to throw him off the scent that I ordered you to be seized on the bridge. Having in mind a quite different and secret purpose, namely, to hold a private speech with you without listening ears, the way we are doing now. For in the not distant future, when I shall have sent the evil-smelling fat one to the scaffold, you will be able to take his place. On the condition, of course, that you will display proper zeal and befitting loyalty in my service. He held forth a long time in his mendacious and rambling strain, wasting precious time while the fat one was likely to return at any minute. Not without difficulty, Khoja Nasreddin succeeded at last in directing the talk into the necessary channel. Aludaro time mekhayana, amze lela gustare ek taki ubaya. Basar zuqar shna bazur bandi kna baz qara pesh bura. Ali Khoja kam mekhay ki qisara pesh bura. Henceforth, you are the chief soothsayer. The Kalani Taviz Gara, declared the grandee. The old man charged his underlings a 10th part of their earnings, but you can take twice as much. Those idle rogues deserve not to be pitied. They just sit there growing fat, while you were the only one to warn me of the danger. Take from them a fifth. In percentage just two. And if they so much as squeak, tell me, I shall quieten them. And now, soothsayer, you must discover when the merchant intends to lodge his complaint. Maybe tomorrow? No, not so soon. He has not yet sufficient proofs. He is waiting until my illustrious lord, throwing discretion to the winds. He will now be waiting in vain. But how did he nose this out? Which of my enemies whispered in his ear? Could you find that out, huh? If I consult my book, which lies yonder in the bag, take it. Khoja Nasreddin fished the famous book out of the bag, opened it, and smiled tenderly at the Chinese characters, as if greeting kind old friends. He seemed even to find them somewhat more understandable. Well, the grandee demanded impatiently, do they speak or they are silent? Imparting to his voice sepulchral gravity, befitting such an important act of soothsaying. Khoja Nasreddin knitted his brows and inflated his stomach. Lo, Goshkit, he moaned in a sing-song voice. I behold the sun declining beyond the edge of day. I behold a bazaar, I behold a shop, and that fat merchant Rahim Bai sitting therein. I hear a drum and the terrifying shouts of the guards. There appears a mighty and illustrious one. I recognize his proud gaze, his noble mustache. He deigns to notice the designed merchant. There's a despised merchant and lower himself beside him. They drink tea and converse. They speak about races, about Arab and Tekken horses. But what apparition is this? It seems as if the queen of the nocturnal skies herself has descended to earth. What words can worthily describe the astonishing loveliness of the lady who has entered the merchant shop? She comes in with low, swinging hips that agitate the feelings and captivate the reason. Her face is hidden beneath a veil, but the dawn-like glow of her tender complexion and a coral of her lips shine through the silk. Lo, the despised merchant opens his money bag and draws forth therefrom various jewels. Then, here is where treachery lurks. Here is the perfidious snare. He cast a glance at the grandee. The latter was leaning forward with his whole body, his mustache twitching, his tongue cleaving to his mouth, powerless to utter a word. "O infamous merchant!" cried Khoja Nasreddin, recoiling from the book as if in the deepest indignation. "O base huckster!" He commands his wife to put on the jewels. He causes her to uncover her face before the illustrious lord. I see the dazzling sun and the glorious moon admiring each other. Their hearts are inflamed with mutual passion. They burn. They yearn towards each other. They forget discretion. Their ardent glances betray them. The hot blood mantling their cheeks declare their guilt. The heavenly secret lies bared. The covering fall away. That base merchant that filthy spy, that vile and jealous monster, that malevolent destroyer of other people's love, has achieved his foul purpose. He intercepts their glances. He listens to their quickened breathing. He counts the number of their heartbeats. He is confirmed in his suspicion, and fulsome envy hisses in his reptilian heart. He plans revenge, but conceals his crafty designs under the outward guise of benignity. याद दस्त खदवान आयत की बस प्रश्न पूछ दे तमाम चीज़ार में करने और आवाज़ के दम हो गए इन्हीं तो चीज़ार मादा मैंने बुक में करना
है
So that is what he is up to, huh? The Grand Imam. Oh, मतलब वो मोर्दू रशनाख्ता की मोर्दू इधर बाइन खुदा लगादर लेकिन वो वाल में खाई इंतखाम बिगराज़मा. Truth to tell, I never thought that over-fattened polecat could be so crafty. वो बोर्ड ना माफ़ी करना मुझे तुमकी कदर चालाकम बाशा. By Allah, soothsayer, you might have been the fourth in that shop and perceived it all with your own eyes. अब तो मालूम मुझे कि तुम चारों मादम बुदे के मुझे बुदे. From now on, your chief task is to watch the merchant. ये तुम्हारा ड्यूटी है कि चिम तो बाशा बलेज़ो. Watch him with the greatest vigilance and wakefulness, and report to me about all his intentions. हर चीज़ की फिक्र न तमाम चीज़ तुम्हारा खबर सुनो. Not a single thought of his shall slip by me. یک دنیش ولاک بیرم تمام thoughts occasion. مایرم در تمیر سنم. As soon as I quit this prison. أنا مزيكي برشدم كار از من نمیه که ما thoughts رو جمع کنم بای. You shall quit it towards evening. بل شام شو نگیره. دقول روز تو چیز فرمایش ما آدم بندیه لکنم. As I must first make my report to the Khan. تو بیلیک تو ما report وغیره بیان کنم بس تو فارغ. And if the Khan does not agree, let that not worry you. One word more, my illustrious lord, certain expenses will be incurred. یک چیز دیگه ببخشین کم خرچم شما خوشم خبرین کی منارم در نظر داشته باشین خرچم میلگه دیگه. On departing hence, you will receive 2,000 tangas to start with. خلاص شده زنجی मतलब एडवांस तो 2000 टांगा में तुम बोर कार शुरू कर दो. If such be the case, अगर इतना रास्ता, then all the desires of my mighty lord shall be executed. अगर ये कदर simple है कि खर्चा मर्चा बराबर everything is fine, लेकिन शुमा खाली फरमाइश कौन सा है? A door slammed above and footfalls sounded on the stairs. The fat one and the scribe returned without having found the required papers. मगर नहीं सही मार शिकस्त ये पैदा नहीं सुनी. They were astonished beyond measure to find the soothsayer not stretched out bleeding on the rack where he should have been, but standing whole of limb before the grandee and even smiling, albeit almost imperceptibly with his eyes alone. ठीक है खदर खानदाना ना मगर मतलब खुश मालूम मुझे ऐरान मंदगी को बंदी बुद्धि चिकार से इंज पेश से हम तक करार दुश भंडार ना दरो. Conduct this man upstairs. And see that all his wants are attended to. The grandee commanded the fat one. This is a special case of which I shall personally report to the great Khan. The fat one conducted Khoja Nasreddin into one of the upper chambers of the tower, where there was a carpet on the paved floor and a soft couch with cushions, and even a hookah. A bowl of pillau was placed before Khoja Nasreddin. And he ate it under the steady, unwavering gaze of the fat one. The door shut with a bang and silence reigned. The deep silence of a prison. which Khoja Nasreddin no longer feared. مثل امزو سکوتی بندخانه مگر از ترسنام قرار He reclined on the couch and with a texat, a great weariness flowed through all his limbs. As if he had been doing heavy work. He shut his eyes, but his thoughts would not be lulled to rest in his busy brain. They sped after the grandee into the apartments of the Khan. Ali imagination azi khoch kunja imagination just pass-passi grandee the Darbari Khan. What will they decide? But that concerns me not. Let the magnificent camelback take care of himself. Far away, camels' bells began to ring in his ears. That was the song of silver-winged sleep alighting upon his pillow. His thoughts slackened their pace. I'm a speedy thought stem. The horses, Sualamar. Where could they have gone to? And where is the one-eyed, now to be sought? A last hazy thought took soaring wing, the thought of the merchant's wife. O fragrant rose of the garden of Hassan, your amorous dalliance has saved my life. And that last thought melted into the emptiness of space. Khoja Nasreddin had fallen asleep. He slept the deep, calm sleep of the victor. It is not inappropriate to repeat here that in his recent encounter, which ended so happily for him, he was saved from the first blow only by the strength of his belief and trust. That golden shield of the noble-hearted. Itamgei nazi dil pakaya. Onak dil safa, medal onar milao masha. تو تو جایا تو بچا بخاطر یمو سادگی و honesty خود تو confidence آیا فرد. He was saved from the first blow only by the strength of his belief and trust, that golden shield of the noble-hearted. In this connection, one cannot help recalling Faris ibn Hattab of Herat. Inje Master Sifur naam se maya Hakim bud Faris ibn Hattab of Herat, that most pure-minded of sages. Kedamane awliya azikada khalis wali kam milawzda. Who said, Guftabut, people need but little to achieve happiness upon earth. लोगों को इस ज़मीन में खुश रहने के लिए बहुत कम की ज़रूरत है. Trust towards each other. Enemy minimum की ज़रूरत है. एक दिगारा एतबार को trust को, एतमाद को. But that accomplishment is beyond the reach of the base-spirited. Kamzada, unai ki khama, una bazanam fama. Whose only law is self-interest. Kamzadar ki मैं खाइबिश ना सी. فقط कैसा खुद चीज़ मगवरा खुद खाही ना सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट हम खुद खाही हम मशा लेकिन ज़ाती मफाद मतलब परस्ती यमी की मतलब परस्ती दी बुफांग बादशाह की बिस्यार खामा कमज़ादा बदज़ादा बेनंगा बे कुछ चीज़ भी गया है बहरहाल इन्हें मिंजी बच्चे इस चैप्टर 16 खलास है